Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a positive and productive day so far. My name is Kel with the Planner Aisle, and today I'm doing a detailed walkthrough of my scheduling routine, sharing some planning tips and tricks, a few of the things that I'm changing, as well as a few fun additions I'm making to my routine for 2024. This is a fairly long video, so I've included timestamps in case you want to skip ahead to a particular section. This is also part one of my 3-part planning routine series, so make sure to subscribe and hit that notification button so you don't miss out. Before we hop in, I want to give a shout out to Whitney K for suggesting this video. If you have any topics you want to learn more about or anything you'd like for me to cover, make sure to let me know in the comments. As always, I'll be including links to the products I use down below, and let me know if you have any questions. Without further ado, let's hop in. So opening up my main agenda, I have 6 sections that I use in my daily planning routine. For this video, I'm focusing on my 2 main scheduling sections. So that's my overview tab and my scheduling tab. So this is where 90% of my day-to-day planning takes place and where my planner pretty much stays open to during my workday. When it comes to layouts, most of us will choose between yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and dailies, or a combination of the 5. If you're a fan of spiral or bound planners, you may like the monthly and weekly combos. It's a really good option if you have limited space or if you prefer that sort of all-in-one style. It gives you quite a bit of flexibility, which is probably why it's the most common layout for ready-made planners. Quarterly layouts are popular for a lot of folks as well, especially if you're in the finance and accounting world. I personally like to use all 5 layouts, but with different functions for each. So starting with my overview section, this is where I house my yearly, quarterly, and monthly spreads. My dividers here are from Infinite Lotus. I did get them customized, but they do sell blank options as well. And then I have this motif dashboard from Cloth and Paper just to add a bit of color. So the first insert in this section is my year at a glance. This one is from Cloth and Paper. You have your months on the front and then a blank notes page on the back. This spread is where I use transparent dot stickers to mark certain types of events or recurring dates. I don't write or list anything here. I mainly just use it as a snapshot of upcoming events. It's also a great place to color code if you choose to do that. Categorizing by color eliminates the need to write out what each date represents, which is a huge time saver when you're checking or confirming dates. You can use whatever system that you prefer. For me, I use these tiny micro dots by Nicole Hutch Designs on Etsy. The great thing about these is that you can order them with multiple colors per sheet, which is so much more cost effective compared to buying 10 sheets with different colors. You can also customize these, which is really nice for those of us who use designated color palettes. So I use this spread to list personal dates and reminders. So for example, I use the pink dots to mark birthdays, light purple to mark holidays, and dark purple to mark anniversaries. I also list important financial dates here as well. So for example, my student loan payment is due October 28th. Since there's a lot of paperwork and prep that I need to do each year around my student loans, I do mark them here so I can make sure that it's always in my foresight. You can also use the spread to mark sinking funds and annual events, particularly those that have set due dates or deadlines. You can use it to highlight vacations or track sick days or school events, so a ton of different options. If you don't use stickers, dot markers and highlighters work well here too. You can also just use a pen and circle or underline dates as well. Because this is a one-page at-a-glance spread, I like to check off prior months with these drop stickers. These are from Cloth and Paper in the color Angora. Using these, it just helps my eye find what I'm looking for a lot quicker, but again, you can always use markers or pens to block these off as well. I don't ever fill in the back notes page, but you can use this to log yearly goals or milestones. I know a few people who use this to list gratitude for each month or list affirmations or personal achievements. You can put a yearly tracker here as well, or of course, you can always leave it blank. My yearly setups rarely change. I may explore some new planner shops or switch out my dashboards, but my layout for the most part will stay the same next year. So my next insert is my quarterly. This one is a printable by Rosie Papetree. This spread is very similar to my yearly. The main difference is that I have an area to write detail for marked dates in the right-hand column. So in addition to the dates on my yearly, I also use my quarterly to list work deadlines. The firm that I work for breaks their review periods by cycle that align somewhat with calendar quarters. So listing those deadlines here, again, just helps me identify those important dates much quicker. I use the same transparent dots here that I use on my yearly, but one thing I am going to change in 2024 is the color of my dot stickers. As you can see, I have yellow, purple, pink, I think I have some orange somewhere. I just find that the brighter colors tend to be a little distracting when I'm looking at this at a glance. Super minor change, but I do plan on using either less colors or colors in the same family for next year. The last insert in my overview is my monthly, and this is the insert that I reference the most in my overview section. So this is the month on two-page layout by Infinite Lotus. They have several styles of monthlies that you can choose from, but I absolutely love this one and plan to use it again for next year. I feel like you just get the right amount of space to list all of your monthly events and tasks without it looking too cramped. So with this insert, you have a place at the top to list your priorities, your calendar in the middle, and then a section at the bottom to list important dates. And then on the back, you have a place to list your to-dos and then a monthly review section below that. So my monthly setup is pretty straightforward. My priorities are always my goals that I want to accomplish for the month or an activity that I want to pay special attention to. So this month I have updating my budget and website updates on here. Student loan payments are coming up next month, which is going to be a significant chunk out of my paycheck. So I'm taking a deep dive into my budget to make sure that I allocate money for that. And then, as many of you know, I launched my website last month, and there's a whole host of updates and freebies that I need to work on around the website. I also list work-related priorities here if I have any. So September is when I do one-on-ones and partner outreach, so I list that at the top here as well. My calendar section is similar to my yearly and quarterly in that I list events, holidays, birthdays, and deadlines, but I also mark common dates or appointments that aren't really significant enough to put on my yearly and quarterly inserts. So for example, I list days off from work, bills that I have to pay, doctor's appointments, and other events that are important to schedule, but not really an annual reoccurring event or something that has significance for me to remember after the date has passed. So for instance, birthdays are a recurring annual thing that occurs on the same day each year, whereas a day off from work is something I don't need to really ever reference again. It doesn't hold any long-term significance, which is why it's only on my monthly and not my yearly or quarterly. This is the main reason why I like having yearly, quarterly, and monthly inserts in my overview section. It helps me quickly find what I'm looking for based on the type of information that I need. If I need to know how many birthdays I need to prep for in November, I can flip to my yearly spread. If I need to remind myself when my parents' anniversary is, I can flip to my quarterly and see that it's on the 25th of August. If I need to see what day my eye appointment is, I can flip to my monthly. If from there I need to see what time that appointment is, I can flip to my weekly spread, which I'll get to in just a second. So essentially, the insert I reference depends on how much detail that I need. Of course, you can put everything on one type of spread if you only want to use one layout, and I know a lot of people who do that. Just keep in mind a benefit of functional planning is to help you save time and boost efficiency around completing tasks. So anything that you can do to expedite the amount of time it takes to find information is time spent towards accomplishing that task, so just something to keep in mind. So looking at my calendar spread and my important dates section, I use a number of stickers to mark specific dates. So these stickers here are from Cloth and Paper. It's their mini shape sticker pack in the color Moscow, and I use these to mark bills that I have to physically pay, not the ones that are auto-drafted. I do keep a comprehensive list of my bills on my wall calendar that's color-coded by payment method, but I like listing those that I need to log on and pay here so I don't forget. For my other bills, I just check off when they come out of my account and then log the amount in my budget overview. These green dots are also from Cloth and Paper. They're in the color pistachio, and I use these to mark paydays. I also use these on my date card in the front of my planner as well. These little cake stickers are from SK Journals, which I use to mark birthdays. I use the maroon micro dots from Nicole Hutch Designs to mark deadlines. These here are spotlight stickers from Cloth and Paper, and I use these to mark days that I go into the office for networking or team events. And then I have these little corner stickers that I use to mark days off. If I'm gonna be off of work for more than one day, like a vacation or a break or something, I'll use washi tape to block out the dates and then highlight it down below. I use a variety of other stickers to mark appointments and special events. For me, it's the easiest way to guide my eye to the right area on my page. The important date section is where I write out the detail from the calendar. So for the bills, I always put a little checkbox here so I can check off when I pay it. But other than that, this is really an extension of my quarterly insert. And then on the back, in the top section, is where you can list your to-dos for the month. The great thing about having your to-do list attached to your monthly insert is that you can match your tasks to the event that it's tied to. So for example, here I have my fiscal year deadline for work on my main spread, and then I have a list of to-dos around that deadline that I need to complete, making it easy to track the status of each item. Another benefit of this particular monthly is that you've got two columns, so you can use one side for work and the other for personal if that's what you choose to do. That's what I try and do most of the time, especially if it's a slower period at work. The last area on this insert is the monthly review section. This is a really great area to reflect on your accomplishments and achievements for the month. You have a section for gratitude, accomplishments, lessons, and notes. I typically fill this out as I go each week. It's just a really great way to celebrate the small wins that we sometimes tend to forget or overlook when we're stressed or anxious about something. It's also beneficial to look back through previous months and reflect on how you were feeling, or if there was anything special or specific that helped bring you out of a particular stressful moment. A lot of people don't fill this section out, and that's totally okay. I talk about white space in a lot of my videos and how it can be difficult to leave sections blank. You sort of feel the urge or the need to write something, but there's months where these pages are full to the max, and other months where I've filled out areas partially or left sections completely blank. And again, that's totally fine. Your inserts and what you write down should be a reflection of you and your goals and your aspirations. And this goes for just about anywhere in your planner. You don't want to fill a page up with random things just because you have the space and then look back and realize that none of this actually applies to your day-to-day. Doing that can really jeopardize your functional routine and may discourage you from using your planner long term. If you're a seasoned planner and you know your style and your tendencies, then you can always buy an insert with just the right amount of space. But if you're new to the planning world or tend to change your mind often, it's always a good idea to err on the side of caution and choose a layout with a little more space in case you need it. So that wraps up my overview section. Again, I use all three of these for similar purposes, but with a few changes for each that makes it easier to find what I need with the least amount of time and effort. So aside from changing transparent dot colors and maybe shopping around for some new dashboards, there's no major changes I'm making in this section. However, I do plan to change several things in my scheduling section, so let's hop over to that. So my scheduling section is where I keep my weekly inserts, which is the main spread that I use for my day-to-day planning and where this agenda stays open to a majority of my workday. I also have a few daily inserts in here as well, but I honestly don't use dailies all that much. Every now and then, if I have a busy day coming up or an event or something that needs a lot of prep, then I'll use one, but I really find myself navigating to my weekly spread more often. So starting at the front here, this is the week on 2-page horizontal grid layout from Infinite Lotus. If you've seen my other videos, you know how much I rave about these inserts. These are the perfect size for me, and the 3/4 split grid style lets me see my day broken out by events that are happening that day and then any meetings or tasks that I need to complete. I feel like horizontal layouts are either a love it or hate it style. If you like to write things out in a lot of detail, or if you use your weekly section for multiple areas in your planner routine, I think horizontal spreads can really benefit you. It's also great if you have a lot of recurring projects or events happening in your schedule. So for example, in my current role, 80% of my job is relationship managing, which basically means that I'm in meetings for most of the day. For me, having the grid layout, it lets me identify which type of meeting that I'm headed into, and then if I want to include a note or something under it, then I have the space to do so. On the opposite side, if you've been in the planner community a while, then you're familiar with vertical layouts. They've been gaining so much traction for years now, and it's probably one of the most popular scheduling layouts. If you like to list things out as you plan, or if you use shorthand, vertical spreads may be the better option for you. Because you have more vertical space, you can use bullet points or check boxes to mark when a task or item has been completed. And I also think that it's a lot easier to see your day chronologically compared to horizontal layouts. Because horizontals have limited vertical space, if you have a lot happening in one day, you may have to continue your list to the right, which can make it a lot harder to see your week from start to finish at a glance. I've used both over the years, but I always end up coming back to the horizontal style. Now, I do like to list things and check them off as well, which is why this particular insert with the grid box is perfect for me. This year, I did notice that I ran into a lot of issues around the amount of stuff that I schedule. As many of you know, I started my YouTube channel a few months ago, and I launched my website as well. I do list a lot of my tasks and deadlines around content in this planner, but I definitely underestimated the amount of time and resources that it would take me to create and edit my content, especially because I do work 7 to 4 Monday through Friday. I've always loved the idea of having an everyday carry, just one main planner that can do it all. My Louis GM currently serves that purpose, and then I also have a separate project planner that I use to schedule and track my content. But because the volume of making content takes up a significant portion of my week, it's much more practical for me to have it in my main planner, which is the biggest change that I'm making to my planning routine for 2024. So I love this horizontal layout by Infinite Lotus, but I wanted a way to capture my work schedule and the content that I put out each week. So I decided to purchase two separate inserts for this section. So first are the 2024 monthly calendar and planner review, and second is the 2024 weekly horizontal grid week on 2-page layout. These are on pre-order from Infinite Lotus, so they haven't come in yet, but I wanted to walk you through my process and how I plan to use these to elevate my planning routine next year. So starting with the monthly layout, I plan to use this as my master content calendar. So right now I'm using the monthly overview by Cloth and Paper. I do like this layout, but the thing that I love about the Infinite Lotus one is the back of the insert. So similar to the monthly in my overview section, the back gives you dedicated sections for your priorities and important dates. It also has 4 separate to-do lists, which I absolutely love. This allows me to categorize my tasks by platform and type of content. So for example, my 4 categories will most likely be YouTube, website and blog, Instagram, and short form content. You can always create your own categories, but I like the idea of it already being sectioned for you. It just saves so much time and energy and minimizes the need to have additional markers or tools to section things out yourself. The other thing that I love about this layout is the simplicity and size of the boxes. You have a nice large calendar spread with plenty of space to write a word or two in each box, and the boxes are completely blank. There's no holidays listed anywhere, which is so nice to see, especially since I'm not using this as my main schedule. I still may color code on this spread. I haven't made up my mind just yet, but I think this is really going to help me manage my social tasks a lot better. The second insert I purchased is where the guts of my scheduling will be. So similar to my current weeklies, I stayed with the horizontal grid layout, but instead of having it fill each page, I got the one where we have a priority, to do, and note section on the bottom half of the second page. That way, I still have space to list my meetings and deadlines for work and a place to list reminders and events, but I also have a dedicated to-do list section. That's one of the main things that I did miss with my current spread. I felt like I was a little too restricted when listing out to-dos, and I often needed to use a separate sticky note or a notepad to capture everything. With this insert, I don't have to worry about that. Anything that I'm prioritizing or anything that I need to complete for that specific week, I can list over here while still having an area on the back of my monthly overview spread to list my monthly to-do items. It took me a while to think through and find a method that worked for me. I feel like a lot of times we can buy inserts based on what we want our habits to be and not what they are, and it really can make it harder and less rewarding to use your planner. Whenever I'm prepping for a new year, I like to pull out my old inserts from January and read through my monthly and weekly schedules and see what worked and what didn't. If I'm using an insert and I have sections that I never use, then that may be an insert that I don't purchase next year. Sometimes your style or size requirements can change and you may need a smaller planner or a larger planner, or maybe you realize that you prefer having a planner for each area in your life. Whatever that may be, I encourage you to sit with your planner for a month or so and think about the times when you were the most productive and then build your routine out from there. So for me, I love the idea of having a year's worth of inserts in my agenda at a time. I like to revisit older weeks and older months quite a bit. However, in order for me to do that and keep my other priorities in my everyday carry, I would literally have to have 40 or 50 millimeter rings, and that just isn't practical at all. So, one of the things that I try and do is prioritize my absolute needs from my nice to haves. So, with my planning style, I absolutely need one planner that can serve 80 to 90% of my planning needs. That means that unfortunately, can only keep 6 months in at a time, but that particular thing was less priority for me, so I had to give it up. But the great thing about your planning routine is that it's yours. There's so much planner inspo out there and so many planner girls and guys that have great tips and advice. I think immersing yourself in the planner community and shopping around, trying different paper textures and inserts and layouts can really help you find that sweet spot when building a schedule that's simple and aesthetic, but also functional, which is the ultimate goal in a well-organized planning routine. So the last thing I plan on changing is how I code my meetings and tasks. So right now I use a variety of different dot stickers and icons to differentiate between types of events or projects. Because my days mainly consist of meetings, what I've been doing this year is using a mix of colors and shapes to help me recognize each one by level of importance and using other stickers to mark various activities. So flipping through, here I have these large transparent color dots in the color Dirty Chai to mark important events or things I need to pay close attention to. These corner stickers are in the color Moscow from Cloth and Paper. They match the circle dots on my monthly spread and mark days where I have to pay a bill. And then I have several different icon stickers for my meeting codes. So all of these are either from Papetree or SK Journals. These little clock icons mark meetings that I have with my direct reports. So these are meetings that I will typically schedule. The calendar icon is for meetings with the admin team, service lines, or leadership meetings. And then these little exclamation marks are for activities or projects where I need to go in and do something. So this could be like filling out a form or signing something. I also have these tiny little micro dots. These are from May Paper Co. and these mark meetings with a partner or an executive. So technically these partner meetings are meetings, but I have to prep a bit more for these. So I like to code them a little bit differently so they stand out. And then I have other less frequently used stickers in here. I have these payday stickers from Humana Papery. These dots here are in the color Fog. I use these to mark when one of my co-managers is out of the office. I've got some drop stickers in various colors that I typically use to mark a fun event or something. These pink dot stickers mark work parties or events. I've got birthday icons, cat icons to mark vet appointments or anything else with Luna. I use washi tape to mark days off, or if I'm out sick a particular day. I'm not going to go through all of these, but similar to my quarterly layout, my goal for next year is to trim this down so I'm not using so many different stickers in this section. So instead of having 8 icons for types of meetings, I may pare it down to just 3. So maybe something like one for urgent, one for general or standard meetings, and then one to mark my team meetings. I'm finding that not only do I have to have every sticker on me when I'm planning away from my office, but I also have to take time to code each type as I'm scheduling. I like seeing it categorized, but going back to the functional theme I mentioned earlier, having a simplified routine where I can find what I'm looking for is a higher priority for me when compared to categorizing each meeting. I still need to have categories, but limiting it to 3 or 4 will serve the purpose I really need it to serve without taking up unnecessary time. Another tool I plan to use a lot more are my highlighters. I almost always have one of these on me, and that's another great way that I can make something important stand out. And that wraps up my scheduling routine, what I'm keeping and what I'm changing for 2024. All in all, I'm really excited to try out this new method. I'm always looking for ways to be more efficient and manage my time better, and I'm confident that these changes will help. If you watch my other videos, you know I also use this planner for project, wellness, and financial planning as well. I am changing up quite a few things in those sections for 2024, including my brand new custom planner that just came in from Vanderspec, or VDS for short. If you want to see my setup of that planner and my wellness and finance planning routine, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss part 2 and 3 of this series. And that is it, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging in there on this one. I know it was kind of long. I hope that you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on new content. It also will really help my channel out a lot. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram for more planner inspo and freebies, sending positive vibes your way. Until next time, y'all have a wonderful rest of your day.